The black cats got Dave N. The white cats, they got Doug. The Google search engine has it.
Hello!
Again.
So...
and again.
and again and again. Me and Ann are going to talk about... There was talk recently about speeding up the Google disavow file process time. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it was... I think Barry Schwartz was the one that brought this to our attention, and it was John Muller on one of his video chats. John Muller is a Google employee who knows a lot but not everything, and great guy though. But he said something about when you do a disavow, you should disavow usually the entire site, not just a page. And, you know, it's been a couple days since I read the quote, but when I read it, I was kind of like, well, John Muller is recommending disavowing stuff at the site-wide level, which Matt Cutts did years ago as well. But it's kind of funny because the way that the disavow process has been described is when you put a link into the disavow file. Let's say I'm going through my backlinks and I see I've got a link from spammysite.com/spammypage.html. Almost all the time I would put in into my disavow domain : and spammysite.com almost all the time. And if I put in the specific URL of that page, Google would just disavow that specific page that links to me, but if they had 10 other pages, the other 10 links would count, and not just that one. And so sometimes Google, when they show their backlinks and webmaster tools, they're kind of showing you a sampling of your backlinks, in my second hand, a sampling of backlinks. And they may show things like, you know, you have 300 links from this one domain. And you can bet that if you have like 300 links from one domain, that you probably have 3,000 links, if not more, from that one domain. So if you're just going in and being like, all right, you know, I'm just going to disavow these 300, keep in mind that what Google shows in their links that they show you is kind of a sampling, and so you're missing a lot. And so almost all the time, I disavow it unless I find something that happens to be on a good site. Like, let's say I find... all right, someone's got a link from harvard.edu/pre-sell-pages-edu buynow.html, and I go to the page and I'm like, oh man, like this is not a good page to have a link on. But Harvard is certainly great. In that case, I might just grab that full URL of that one page and put it into the disavow so that in case they ever had or get a good link from Harvard, it won't block them. But, you know, to go back how the process works according to Google is when you put something into the disavow file, that nothing really happens then. It's like, all right, they see you have a file and here's all the things that you're disavowing, and there may be root domains and there may be specific pages. And the way that it's supposed to work is Google's crawling along the web again, and suddenly they come across spammysite.com/spammypage, and they go to the page and they say, oh, this links over to Internet Marketing Ninjas, and they go, oh, but Internet Marketing Ninjas has that URL in the disavow file, so now we're going to count it as a no followed link. And so part of it is, let's say... And so you're kind of waiting for Google to return to that page to see the link to then say, all right, it's disavowed. So again, when you submit the disavow, it's not like it automatically goes into an equation and Google says, all right, you know, these links we're not going to count anymore. They say, all right, these links are going to count, even if they're in the disavow file, until we return to that page. And when we return to that page, then we'll say, all right, you know, that one's in that disavow file, we're not going to count it. And this leads into all sorts of, I'm going to get in a little juicy here. So, all right, what do you do if you're like, all right, you know, I'm looking over my backlinks, and, you know, I did a preventative disavow for Internet Marketing Ninjas, and I go through and I look at all the bad links, and, oh, these are terrible links, and I run them through a whole bunch of tools that we built, because we built a lot of tools to analyze these, and I look at all these terrible links, and I say, only half of these pages that Google is showing as backlinks to my site or even indexed in Google. So it's like Google came across spammysite.com, spammypage.html, and recorded the backlink going to me, and then they threw the page out of the index. And now I put it into my disavow, and I'm going, well, when's Google going to return to that page? They've already thrown it out! And I'm waiting for Google to return to count it as a no-fall. What if they never return? What if the page, like, I've seen some forum pages, I've seen some forum pages that are like a mile long, just filled with spam. And, also people put in co-citation in that spam. They're trying to rank up their dating site. They're going to throw in every other dating site in there as well. And it's like Google finds these pages and and they throw them out. And it's like, do you really think Google's going to return to that forum page that got spammed a mile long with all these links? Do you really think they're going to go back there? I'm thinking, no, they're not. So it's like you put it in your disavow, but you're like, when's Google going to come back? And I'm waiting for my disavow to take place. I'm waiting for, when am I going to untrip the algorithm? Let's say you got the algorithmic penalty, and you're like, I'm trying to untrip the filter, and I've uploaded my disavow 3 months ago. But Google's only returned to a third of the pages. What do I do? I get into a little gray hat stuff here. So, it's like, what do you do? Now, I guess there's one thing as well. You can sit around and wait. All right, you uploaded 1,000 URLs to your disavow document, and you're just going to wait for Google to go to enough of those to eventually be like, all right, you kind of untrip the filter, we'll let you back in. And you kind of have the disadvantage of half the links that Google's showing in your Webmaster Tools are coming from pages that Google's thrown out of their index. They don't even rank. They're not there. You can't even find them. They're not indexed. There's no cache. Can you tell I'm getting upset over this? Google! So
that's a hot
what do you do? Google, you mess with us, or we can mess back with you. And so there are people that do things like this. Should I even go into this stuff? There's... I'll keep it kind of brief, but there's people that they basically will do things like pinging the bad links, which is basically fighting spam with spam. You can go to Fiverr or Freelancer, and they'll be like, we'll get you 10,000 links. You're like, great, here's, and they're like, just give us the list of URLs that you want links to, and tell us what phrase you want to link to those. And, all right, great, here's 1,000 URLs, and I want you to link to all these phrases with the word disavow. I'm gonna use spam link tactics to get links to spam pages so that Google will return to the page and then say, oh yeah, this is in Jim's disavow, because if I get a link from spamsite.com /spammypage.html and Google has thrown it out of the index, they may never return there. But you know what? If I send a whole bunch of spam links to that page, Google is going to follow a couple of those, go to that page and go, yeah, that spam page. Yep, it's linking to Jim, and that's no follow now. Great, you want to play this game, Google, we'll send spam into you. Oh, I'm terrible now. I'm getting gray. You gotta be careful on these shows. We had another client who had another throwaway domain, and the guy who had the throwaway domain that wasn't in his name, wasn't registered. Saying, we had a whole big talk about that because Google knows all these things, and he took his other domain that was an old site that was getting spidered on a daily basis. Every single day, Google was going to that homepage and indexing it. So what he did is he put a bunch of links across the bottom, and it was disavow 1, disavow 2, disavow 3, disavow 13. Every one of those, I think he put every one on a separate subdomain. So he was disavow 1 dot, his site, disavow 2 dot, and on every one of those pages, I think he put 200 links. So he ended up taking this other site that was being spidered on a daily basis and putting a whole bunch of links to all these crappy links just to get Google to return to those pages so that they would count it as a no-follow. Does that work? Yeah. Otherwise you're sitting there waiting for Google to return to pages. It should be somewhere in Google's policy that, if we're going to show you one of your backlinks that's going to you, then somehow we're going to return to it. Or if we've already thrown that page out because we know that it's spam and we're not going to count it and we're never going to return to it, then don't put it in Webmaster Tools. Don't put it in as one of your links. You've already thrown it out. You're already not counting it. Don't show it in there because I'm trying to wait for, 30% of my links to get cached with, Google seeing this. And if you're not going to go to half of them because you've thrown them out, not happy. What was the original question? How to speed up the disavow file? Oh, so John Muller said, you should disavow things by the root folder. So I guess the question is, does Google really, if they go to the homepage of spammysite.com, do they really say, let's say they've already thrown out the spammy page. Does Google, when they go to the homepage, say, oh, we're on the homepage, and by the way, there's a subpage of this site which links to Internet Marketing Ninjas, and now we're not going to count it? I don't think so. It may be, but according to what Google said, they need to return to that page to see the link to then say, all right, this is no followed. I don't think they're going to do it at a domain level at all. They're going to go from page to page to page because, what if a link's no followed? What if you write to that person with a spammy site and you're like, hey, can you no follow my link? Well, when's Google going to count it? Not when they go to the home page, but when they go to that specific page.
Or if it just removed.
Yeah, or
Not
just
even
remove
no
it.
follow.
But it's
There is no link anymore.
I don't think that news
Would
of
Google
it's
know until they are there?
Yeah, I don't
No.
think they will. So there was kind of the news about, it'll speed up your disavow if you block it at the root level. I don't buy it at all. I think what was said was kind of misquoted.
It's
or
more
mismeant.
about you saving your time. Instead of putting all those URLs,
Yeah,
you put a domain. It's more about you saving your time.
It's probably more for
and
where
that's
you've
how
got
you make it faster, the whole process, because you work less on that file. You just disavow the whole domain.
Yeah, it
But
could be more
not-
you've got
not the
those
process.
300 links from one site when it's really 3,000, and if you just block it at the root, anytime Google goes to any page on that site, they're like, all right, doesn't count, doesn't count, doesn't count, doesn't count, doesn't count. But I imagine they got to go to every page of the site if there's some spammy pages that they've thrown out and they don't even have indexed. And I can't believe no one's really written about the fact that half of the links that Google shows in their disavow, in their Google backlinks, so we can go through the whole list. We take the links from someone's Google Webmaster Tools and we run it through a tool, and the tool separates it into a couple of sides. And we have what we call the live links and we have what we call the dead links. And if someone has, say, let's say that we download the Google backlinks, and let's say there's 50,000 backlinks that Google's showing. The first thing our tool does is it breaks it down to one URL per domain. So how many different domains is this coming from? Let's say, all right, those 50,000 links are coming from 2,500 unique domains. Because I really don't need to analyze 50,000 backlinks. I just need to analyze one backlink from each domain. That's all I need to do to decide if I'm going to keep it or not. And so we divide it into the live and the dead. So again, if we download 50,000 links, we may separate that into domains, and those 50,000 links may be coming from 2,500 unique domains. So then we say, all right, now that we've broken down into how many domains and one URL per domain, let's break it down between the live and the dead links. Live links are where we go to the page loads, we see your link, it's followed, it's there. And usually about half of the links that Google shows, they're there. They're there, they count, the page loads, they're followed, it's stuff you need to analyze. The other half of the links that Google shows are going to be, the page is already dead, they're 404, and they've been dead for ages. And they're talking about, we respider all this stuff. Bull.
And it's not even indexed.
Bull. Yeah, it's you're not revisiting this stuff, and this page has been dead for 6 months. And you're showing it in my Webmaster Tool saying, and I think John Muller said once, when we go back, we'll take it out. The stuff's refreshed all that. Well, that's been gone for 6 months. So where are we? The dead links. So usually about half the links that Google shows are real and live and count and are what you need to analyze. And the other half are things like the page is gone and it's been gone for ages, Google. The page is no followed. Why are you showing no followed links in our links? The poor average person has no idea. And they're trying to analyze links that don't even count anyways. Poor people. And then there's ones where the page is up, but the link is gone. So your link's no longer there. And usually about half of your links that Google shows, they're what we consider dead. It has no effect on your penalty. When we're trying to analyze your backlinks, we're going to go and we're going to analyze the stuff on the live side. And the stuff on the dead side, it's why is Google even showing all this? It's it's the same thing. Do you got to fight spam with spam? Send in a whole bunch of spam links to those spam links to go to you, so Google will refollow them and not count them. It's terrible, but, Sorry
It's
if I got a
sad.
little emotional during
It's
this
so
thing.
sad.
Disavows
No, we can
are
understand.
disavows are they've been getting me. So
Yeah, one important takeaway from this emotional talk is that don't wait for Penguin to come or for manual penalty to come. Start analyzing your links now, because when it's too late, probably you will wait for months for Google to revisit those pages. So don't wait for that.
yeah, you know, we have a free tool as well. If you go to tools.seochat.com, one of the tools on there is the disavow analysis tool, the ultimate disavow something. But,
And it's free.
and it's free, and it'll separate your links into the live and dead and all that, and so it'll show you the stuff that you need to analyze. I definitely would recommend using that tool, and you know, I did it myself as a preventative measure. So even if you haven't been hit, if you're like, well, you know, I haven't been hit, and you should do a preventative disavow. You really should look through the backlinks, because I went through our backlinks. I'm like the same as everyone else. I didn't build these. Who's building all these exact match anchor texts? And literally, they weren't me. And you're like, someone must be trying to penalize me or whatever. You know, and you just go through and clean up the backlinks and submit. If you haven't been hit, we always do. When we do preventative disavows, we do them very light. It's like the worst of the worst stuff is what we're removing. But it was like, you know, just a couple days ago, there was another client that I was talking to, and they got hit by Panda 3.0. Panda 3.0 was a little bit different than the others, and then a lot of it didn't happen overnight like a lot of them do. It kind of slowly goes down over time. And this particular client, you know, I'm like, hey, have you guys been doing anything for link building on the site? I'm like, no, we've never done anything for link building, but we've seen a huge drop in traffic. And I went in, and I'm like, you sure you didn't do anything for link building? No, I never did anything. And I go in, and this particular site, they have a handful of sites, but they had profile pages for different companies on them. So it was like, I don't know, a doctor site, we'll say, and all the eye doctors had a page on the site for every location. So all the doctors in Troy, New York, in Clifton Park, and you can kind of search for eye doctor Troy, New York, and you'd find a page, and each page would list, you know, here's the 5 doctors, and you could go to the doctor page, and here's the doctor page. And what I found when I analyzed the backlinks is that a whole bunch of other people had been building links to profile pages in there for one of a couple reasons. They were trying to get that page on this other site to rank high for their name. Some of them were for reputation problems, where they were trying to push other stuff down by building backlinks to these profile pages. And as it turns out, these guys had a whole bunch of sites, but the one that I went into in detail, there was about 20 pages that people had been building backlinks to. It wasn't the company themselves, it was the individuals. Again, for ranking purposes and reputation purposes. And so I had to tell that, you know, it was either, well, do I do a disavow of all of those links that are going to those pages, which was one alternative. The alternative that I did was 410 those particular pages. So normally there's 404s. 410 is a permanent dead page. So the 410s in theory work a little bit quicker if you're trying to kill a page and get it out of Google's index as opposed to a 404. So I told him 410 all of these particular profile pages. Take those particular profile pages and call them all now -2.html. So suddenly it was like Dr. Bob Smith -2. And so suddenly the doctor still had his page, but suddenly his page had no backlinks or any of that other junk to it. So the doctors who were building links to it probably never caught on that, gee, the old page is gone, and they go through the site and like, yep, there's our page, and may not realize it's -2. But with that particular case, instead of doing an entire disavow, we just decided to kill the pages that had the bad backlinks going to them.
Yeah, that's one of the options too, if you can do that.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much for
Thank
watching
you.
the Jim and Ann show, and stay tuned. Tomorrow or the next day, you may be getting another video. Rock on!